The past guides you through ancestral codes etched into your fascia, and you follow them without realizing it. These silent instructions organize your posture, your movement, and your responses before a single thought has time to form, keeping you locked into an old script that repeats itself like fate. Your shoulders lift for no clear reason, your jaw tightens, your chest hardens, your hips hold back, signs that something older than your will has already chosen the path. In the next few minutes, you will discover where these commands are active in your body and learn how to interrupt the repetition at the exact point where it begins. There is a micro moment between stimulus and reaction where real choice lives. But most people never notice it because the tissue executes the old instruction too quickly. If you leave now, you will continue living a life that feels free but moves along a track carved into your structure, obeying agreements you do not remember making. The mechanism that turns inherited experience into bodily destiny will be revealed, along with a technique capable of offering your body a way out of the route it has repeated for decades. The fascia is the tissue that wraps every muscle, every organ, every fiber of your body in a continuous network that runs from the skull to the feet. But it does more than support, it records. Every intense experience you lived, every fear that was never completed, every protection you had to build left a mark in this tissue, like ink on living parchment. And what makes this even deeper is that you do not carry only your own marks. There are inscriptions that came before you, tensions your body inherited the same way it inherited eye color or the shape of your hands. Ancient Hermetic traditions called the body a sacred manuscript, a living record where bonds of continuity remained active across generations. In Egyptian thought, certain postures and contractions were seen as signatures of loyalty to one's ancestors, silent ways of honoring what came before, even when it cost the freedom of the present. The body was not viewed as an instrument of the soul, but as a library where family history was written and read at the same time. The fascia operates as a distributed memory system that organizes tension and form according to ancient maps of protection. When an experience was threatening, the tissue did not just contract in that moment. It recorded the contraction as a permanent instruction, a safety protocol that activates automatically whenever something similar appears. This instruction does not pass through the mind. It acts before thought, shaping your posture, your breath, and your ability to move in certain directions. Researchers like Robert Schleip discovered that fascia contains more sensory receptors than the muscles themselves, making it an extremely sophisticated organ of perception and response. Stephen Porges, through the development of polyvagal theory, showed that the nervous system seeks the familiar path whenever it senses threat, and that path is written precisely in lines of fascial tension. The body returns to the old track, not out of weakness, but because the tissue reads the present through the lens of the past. This means that the repetition you live, the same conflicts, the same reactions, the same limits, is not your failure. It is the faithful execution of a code that is still active, directing your choices before you realize you have already chosen. Someone once discovered this in their own body, felt the exact moment when the code tried to run, and for the first time interrupted it. That story will illuminate where the past is still guiding you. Beverly was 52 years old and carried 3 decades of classroom life in her body, teaching Shakespeare and Virginia Woolf while her shoulders rose toward her ears without her noticing. Over the years, she developed chronic back pain that doctors attributed to standing for long hours. But she knew there was more to it. The tension never eased, not even on vacation, as if her body were maintaining a constant state of vigilance that had nothing to do with work and everything to do with something older, something she could not name. What truly unsettled her was realizing how she repeated the same patterns outside of school. Relationships that began with promise and ended in the same rupture. Conversations with her adult daughter that followed the exact scripts she once had with her own mother. A tendency to pull back at the precise moment she needed to move forward. Beverly had tried therapy for 2 years, completed a full mindfulness program, practiced Pilates, and even went on silent retreats. Yet something deep in her body remained untouched, like a locked room inside a house she thought she knew. The shift began unexpectedly during the funeral of her Aunt Eleanor, her mother's older sister. As she watched the coffin being lowered, Beverly noticed she was standing exactly the way her mother used to stand, her pelvis locked to the left, shoulders rounded inward, jaw clenched. She looked at her cousins around her and saw the same posture mirrored in different bodies, as if the entire family were following an invisible instruction. That night, unable to sleep, she searched for information about postural inheritance and came across an article on fascial memory and somatic codes passed down through generations. In the days that followed, Beverly immersed herself in the study of fascia as a living archive. She learned simple ways to test where the body stores old tension and began experimenting on herself. The first time she tried a gentle trunk rotation, lying on the floor of her bedroom. She felt resistance on the right side that seemed to have weight of its own, as if something there refused to turn. When she attempted a pelvic rotation, her hip locked into the exact position she had seen at the funeral, and a chill ran down her spine as she realized her body was faithfully executing a code that was not hers. In the second week of practice, while applying micro-variations along the sideline of her torso, Beverly felt something shift internally, not a bone, but a kind of permission. Her breath changed on its own, dropping into areas that had felt sealed for decades, and a fine tremor moved through her legs. Tears came without any attached memory, just pure release, and she realized that for the first time, her body was responding differently than the script it had always followed. Something was softening in the exact place where entire generations had stood guard. What you need now is to locate in your own tissue where this same code is still operating. The first step is to map where your body is still obeying the old command. Lie on your back on a firm surface, knees bent, feet grounded on the floor, arms resting comfortably by your sides. Allow your spine to find its own arrangement without correction, simply settling into contact with the ground. Take a few breaths, letting your abdomen expand and fall naturally without control, and when you feel present in your body, prepare for the twisting test. Let both knees slowly fall together to the right, as if they were dropping toward the floor on their own. What matters here is not range, but the quality of the pathway. Notice where something hesitates, locks, or holds. It might be in the lower back, the middle of the spine, between the ribs, or higher up near the heart. Acknowledge that place without judgment, simply recognizing that an old instruction is active there. Return to center with the same slowness and repeat on the left side, noticing whether both sides respond the same way, or if one flows while the other meets resistance. The difference between sides reveals protective asymmetries the tissue has kept active for years or decades. The second test highlights another region of the map. Still lying down, extend your arms toward the ceiling with your palms facing each other, as if you were holding an invisible sphere between your hands. Now press just one hand slightly higher, allowing the shoulder blade on that side to gently lift from the floor as the arm reaches for something distant. Notice how far it goes before the shoulder, chest, or ribs begin to slow or block the movement. Return, then repeat with the other arm, comparing not only the distance, but the sense of freedom or containment on each side. To complete the reading, Bring your hands to your abdomen and direct your attention to the pelvis. Imagine your hips as a shallow bowl filled with water, and without moving your legs, tilt this bowl forward, allowing the lower back to arch slightly, then tilt it backward, pressing the lower back into the floor. Move back and forth between these two positions several times, noticing which direction feels more difficult or less familiar to your body. The direction that resists marks an axis of the code, a coordinate where the fascia repeats the same pattern every time you move, sit, stand, or lie down. Now you know where the blocks live, and it is time to offer the tissue something it has never received. Choose the test that revealed the greatest resistance and return to that position with a completely different intention. Instead of trying to push past the sticking point, go only halfway, and there, in that safe zone, introduce micro movements the body cannot predict. Small circles, subtle up and down shifts, tiny changes of angle that break the straight line the track has always followed. Breath plays a very specific role in this process. As you offer these micro variations, let your exhale last noticeably longer than your inhale, as if the air were leaving slowly through a narrow opening. This ratio signals to the nervous system that there is no urgency and no threat, allowing the tissue to release layers that have remained contracted for protection. Stay with the same point for 2 or 3 minutes, varying rhythm, direction, and very small ranges of motion, always staying just before the point of resistance. Warmth, subtle pulsing, fine trembling, or spontaneous sighs are signs that the fascia is processing new information. What is happening here is an interruption at the most basic level of repetition. You are not stretching or strengthening. You are showing the tissue that another route exists beyond the one it has followed thousands of times. Each small, unfamiliar movement weakens the dominance of the old track and opens possibilities the code did not anticipate. Before moving to the next layer of the practice, there is something about Beverly's story that completes what you are feeling now. In the weeks that followed that first release, Beverly practiced the tests and variations every morning before going to work. The dense block on the right side of her torso gradually softened, not all at once, but like ice melting, layer by layer, until the twist began to move with similar ease in both directions. The deeper change, however, happened off the floor. She started to notice the exact moment her body tried to run the old pattern. The jaw beginning to tighten, the shoulders lifting, the pelvis tipping into that familiar position. The real test came during a parent meeting, when a sharp comment from another mother would normally have triggered Beverly's habitual response. Withdrawal, silence, words swallowed and carried for days. This time, she felt the code try to initiate and, in that same instant, made the micro-adjustment she had practiced on the floor. Something reorganized in her chest. Her breath dropped, and the words that came out were not pulled from the old script. For the first time, Beverly responded, fully present, without the weight of generations pressing against her throat. What she discovered in that moment is exactly what your body is beginning to register now. That the code can be recognized at the instant it activates, and that there is a real space between trigger and response. That space is not created by willpower, but by tissue reorganization, when the fascia receives enough variation to release the guard it has held for decades. Your system is learning, right now, that repetition is not inevitable. The next layer restores elasticity, where the code has stiffened the lines of transmission. Sit or stand, and place the palm of your hand flat against your chest, just below the left collarbone. With firm but tolerable pressure, slowly glide your hand diagonally across the sternum, toward the ribs on the right side, as if softening a piece of stiff fabric. When you find areas that feel dense or slightly stuck, pause and maintain the pressure for a few seconds, breathing into that contact until you feel the tissue give, even subtly. After 3 or 4 passes across the chest, move to the side of the body. Using your hand or forearm, press and slide from the armpit down to the crest of the hip, traveling along the entire sideline at a pace slow enough to feel each layer respond. This pathway often holds patterns of containment. Everything you held back, swallowed, or made smaller to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Finish by working the back line, using a firm ball or your knuckles to press and glide along the muscles beside the spine. Moving upward slowly, allowing each segment to respond in its own time. To seal this new flexibility into the nervous system, layered breathing shifts your baseline tone. Inhale by expanding the ribs sideways, like an accordion opening horizontally, without pushing the chest forward. As you exhale, let the air leave slowly through the mouth, in one continuous stream, allowing the exhale to last at least twice as long as the inhale. Feel the entire body soften progressively with each breath out. 10 cycles of this breathing, done after the fascial work, help consolidate the change and inform the body that it can now operate from a different pattern. The core practice is complete, and now comes the moment to create an anchor that prevents a return to the old code. Notice the signs that something has shifted in your body. Your breath may be dropping deeper on its own, reaching areas of the abdomen that once felt inaccessible. Your jaw may have softened, the teeth no longer clenching as they did before. Your chest might feel less guarded, with a sense of space between the ribs that wasn't there 20 minutes ago. These are real markers that the tissue has received new information and is responding differently. Take a moment to register which of these signals is most present for you right now. To anchor this state in a way you can access later, place your thumb at the base of the sternum, right where the ribs meet at the center of the chest. Apply gentle pressure as you take a long, slow exhale, feeling that point of contact as a seal marking this moment. Hold the pressure for 3 full breaths, allowing each exhale to deepen the softening you've created. This gesture is simple enough to use anywhere, discreetly, whenever you need to return to this state. Over the next few days, when you notice the old code trying to reassert itself, the shoulders lifting, the jaw tightening, the body slipping back into that familiar posture, use this touch as a switch. Press the base of the sternum, take a long exhale, and say, internally, I recognize the code, and I choose differently. Do not force relaxation or fight the tension. Simply offer the body the reminder that another option exists. This phrase and this gesture together form your return protocol, the tool that allows this practice to keep working long after the video ends. The seal is now imprinted in the tissue, and the anchor is available whenever you need it. What remains is to understand the real scope of what you have just given your body permission to respond in a way that entire generations before you may never have known. What you are holding in your body now is different from what you carried when you began. There is a new quality in the way your breath moves through your torso. A softness where there used to be automatic rigidity. A subtle sense that the space between stimulus and response has become inhabitable. You may notice that your shoulders are no longer pulled up toward your ears, that your jaw is resting instead of guarding, that your hips have found a position that does not require constant effort. These changes may seem small, but they represent something immense. Your tissue has just received permission to operate outside the track it has followed for decades. Repetition is no longer the only option. What happened here is part of a much wider territory you can continue to explore. There are other layers of code stored in other regions of the body. other ancient loyalties waiting to be recognized and reorganized, other points where variation can open paths you have not yet imagined. Each practice reveals a new map, and each map reveals possibilities the old pattern kept hidden. Reclaiming sovereignty over your own tissue is not an endpoint, it deepens. Moshe Feldenkrais once wrote, "You cannot do what you want until you know what you are doing." That sentence carries the exact weight of what you have just experienced. The realization that your body was executing instructions you did not know existed. Recognizing the code is the first step toward no longer obeying it blindly. The awareness you brought to your fascia today marks the beginning of a completely different relationship with your own structure. The body you inhabit was shaped by the Source to be a temple and an instrument of creation, not an archive of inherited limitations. When you offer variation to the tissue and interrupt repetition, you are honoring the original intelligence present in every one of your cells. The same force that organized your form in the womb is the force that reorganizes your patterns now. When you offer the right conditions, freedom is not the absence of history, it is the presence required to choose how that history continues. If this resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share this with someone you recognize as being stuck in the same cycles, repeating patterns they cannot explain. Consider becoming a member of the channel to support the creation of content that unites science, the body, and ancestral wisdom at this depth. I want to know how your body responded to this practice of variation and fascial awareness. Leave a comment saying, "I return to my fascia, the freedom to respond to the present." Writing this helps anchor the commitment in your nervous system. And if you want to continue going deeper, more content is waiting for you. Click the video on your screen and continue now. The code you carried for so long does not disappear in a single day, but from this moment on, it has to share space with something that did not exist before, your ability to perceive it before it finishes running.